Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to teach you how to solve fractional linear equations. When you've watched the video, please click the link in the description which will take you to this page and you can have a go at some questions on your own. Okay, so how do we solve this equation here? So obviously fractional equations, they involve fractions. So I've copied it over here on the right, and what you need to notice is that this equation is a bit unusual because the letter we're trying to work out is on the bottom of the fraction. So it makes it a little bit harder to solve when it's on the bottom there. It's easier if the letter was on the top. So what we need to do is somehow try and get this letter to the top of the equation. But you need to think about what's actually happening in this equation here. The letter 6 is being divided by x. Okay, so that's 6 being divided by this mystery number x. And what's the opposite of division? Well, it's timesing. So what we're going to do is to try and get the x off the bottom, we're going to multiply it to the other side. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to multiply both sides by x. Okay, so we're going to times both sides by x. So on the right hand side we're going to have 12 times x, and on this side we're just going to be left with 6, because if you think about it, basically these two x's cancel each other out, they're going to disappear. So you're just going to be left with a 6, because the opposite of dividing by 6, the opposite of dividing by x is multiplying by x, so they cancel each other out. Okay, so what we've got is we've got 6 equals 12x. Now this is just a simple equation. How do you solve that? Well, all you need to do is divide both sides by 12. So we're just going to take 6 and divide it by 12. But that equation there, that fraction there can be simplified to a half. So x must be a half. And if we check that, okay, and lo and behold, we'll get it right. Okay, and there's your answer. X is equal to a half. So if in doubt, if there's ever a letter that you want to find out the value of, if it's on the bottom of the fraction, just multiply it to the other side. Okay, so let's do this one here. So let me copy it over here. Okay, so that equals 4. Right, what we want to do is try and get that letter there, try and get this letter here on its own. So we need to get rid of everything around it. First of all, this whole expression is being divided by 7. So we need to get rid of that 7 first of all. So what's the opposite of dividing by 7? Well, it's multiplying by 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this equation, multiply both sides by 7. So what happens is you get 4 times 7 on this side, which is 28. That 7 cancels that 7 out because it's the opposite operation. Dividing by 7 times by 7 cancels out, and what you're left with is basically y take away 6. You're literally left with the top. And then what we need to do now is get rid of the 6, so we just add it to the other side. So y equals 28 add 6. Okay, well, what's 28 add 6? That's 34. And lo and behold, we need to check the answer. Press check and then check the answer, and there we go, we got it right. Okay, so no errors there. Right, let's do another one. Okay, the last one now. This one's the trickiest one to solve. So first of all, let me copy it over. Okay, we've got a fraction equaling another fraction. How on earth do you solve this? Well, the idea is we're going to try and get rid of the denominators here. Okay, we're going to try and get rid of the 5 and the 8. So let's start with the 5. Okay, so how do we get rid of the 5? Well, what we need to do is we need to multiply both sides by 5. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, is we're going to multiply both sides by 5. So let me clear this out. Okay, let me hide that. So we're going to times both sides by 5. Okay, and there's one additional thing that we need to do as well. Okay, what we should do is we should write these numerators in the bracket, because the idea is we're going to try and keep those things together, because when we times by 5, you need to think about what's actually being multiplied by 5 on this side here. Okay, so the 5 is multiplying this fraction, but really what it's multiplying is the top of the fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 5 bracket through x plus 1 all over 8, and that equals 7 minus x. Okay, so that 5 gets rid of that 5 there. So let me just cross it out. They disappear. And let me cross the time sign as well, and the underlined sign as well. Okay, so you're left with 7 minus x on its own. You've just basically times the 5 over, and there it is multiplying the top there. Okay, so we need to get rid of the 8 as well. So what we're going to do is going to multiply both sides by 8. But what we should do is write this in a bracket, because we're going to times all of that by 8. So this 8 disappears now, it goes. Okay, so what you're left with, oops, let me get rid of that. Okay, is you're left with 5 bracket 3x plus 1, and then 8 bracket 7 minus x. Now if you look at literally what's happened is, basically we've taken this thing here and we've times the 8 up, okay, and we've taken this thing here and we've times the 5 up, and that's literally what we've done. It's basically like a crisscross going on. The 5's multiplied that, and the 8 has multiplied that. But the only reason why we've put them in brackets is because we're timesing all of it by 8 and all of that side by 5. Okay, so what we need to do is expand all the brackets now. So 15x plus 5, and that's going to be 56 take away 8x. Now we need to do a bit of a balancing act. We've got minus 8x and 15x, so that's smaller. So we're going to add 8x to both sides. Okay, and actually let me clear some of this working out. Let's get rid of some of that. Okay, to carry on. So we're left with 56 equals, so we need adding it over, so that's 23x plus 5. Okay, so we need to take away 5 from both sides. Okay, so let's clear some of that working out there. And that's going to be 51 equals 23, oops, 23x. Now we need to get the x completely on its own, so we need to divide the other side by 23. So the answer is x equals 51 divided by 23. Now this fraction 51 divided by 23 is not a nice answer. 23 is prime, so it's 51, so you can't really divide them by anything. So you have to leave that as it is. I mean, you can write it as a mixed number, but we'll leave that as it is because that is the answer. So let's check that. Okay, wait for the conversion. Check the answer, and we got it right. Okay, so that's how you solve algebraic fractional equations. So what I suggest you do now is click the link in the description, which will take you to this page, and you can have a go at some questions and see how many you get right. And if you like my video, please like and subscribe my video. Thank you very much for watching, everyone.